You probably are wondering why. I don't know. Maybe you have thought this over, but let me just give you my thoughts. We're entering into this age, and I don't know we've entered this into this probably over the last half decade, over a little over half a decade, where it really ramped up. And what happened was young folk in particular got to focusing and prioritizing so much on obviously this phantom concept of social justice. And when I say phantom, I mean like there's only justice. There's no such thing as social justice. It's just a thing that, you know, but it's loose enough in meaning that they can basically apply it to anything that kind of gears the conversation in a way to where anything that they advocate can only be seen as good. This is why they're disingenuous like that. They use rhetoric and phrasing like, okay, you'd have to agree with this, right? You know, Black Lives Matter, for example, you can't disagree with that type of stuff. But trying to tap into the psyche of these weirdos, what it all boils down to is that these definitely a lot of these young folk, people my age and younger, have an obsession with oppression. So the reason why that is because from a societal standpoint, they got awarded. And that was the biggest fucking mistake by way of the overall like American culture. I know it's not synonymous to American culture, or rather exclusive. You got other countries that are dealing with this stuff. Definitely out west is in the West as well. But more so, what it is that I'm saying is they got rewarded in a really various different ways. Whether that was awarded with money, fame, all of that, they were able to basically get what it is that they either wanted or be bolstered into some sort of influential position just by way of feigning being a fucking victim. Now, that to me, and we've done many videos on this, is the way of the loser. I do believe that there is something, it says something about the individual that first looks to himself or herself in the event that they get the short end of the stick when it comes to life. Those generally are going to be the people that are most successful, even if there are external factors. Because you got to understand that, yeah, there are people that do wrong things objectively to people that are undeserving of it. But what's happened now is that you now have people that are going out of their way to present themselves as that victim, present themselves in a way to say that they are oppressed. Like, I don't think people have taken a step back to think about, for example, the overall conversation that's happening with, let's say, actors and actresses. Imagine making millions upon millions of dollars, more money than you guys will probably ever see in your lifetime. They probably made that on one movie. Of all different races, cultural backgrounds, gender, both genders, whatever, men, women, that have been able to accumulate a lot of money. And somehow they have come out on the other side of that and presented themselves as victims. I point to, and we talked about this last show, Anthony Mackie. Now, you can make the argument that, well, he doesn't really believe that. Look at his, for example, some of his interviews, like even 7 years ago. It goes to show you how fast this happened. And it's like you're a different guy, or he was a different guy. And you're right. You're not incorrect on that. But it is what it is. It actually amplifies everything it is that I'm saying about this subject matter. When you have someone as fucking rich as that, and such a great position as that, can still come out on the other side perpetuating some struggle, phantom struggle, or something of that nature. Now, a lot of this is, I do think that there is a line there. There are people that actually believe, unfortunately, they've drank, I don't want to say drink, they swam in the Kool-Aid and actually believe that they are some sort of victim. But this is why it's so dangerous from a cultural standpoint to reward that bad behavior. Because this is what you get. And now you have people from a societal standpoint, albeit again, tiptoeing around certain issues. People feel like they can't say certain things because that may offend some crowd who, again, has been able to strong arm folks, or rather tie their hands behind their back because they have presented themselves as a victim. And of course, you don't want to proceed as an oppressor, do you? So while you got, for example, these weirdo white leftists and how they feel, and a lot of them are actually, kind of orchestrating a lot of this, but there's a reason why that is the case. It's because people have an obsession with oppression. And it's synonymous with really first world problems if we really want to get down to the nitty gritty. Because look, come on. I grew up in a very difficult situation being in a single parent household, and all that stuff that all these fools lived. I've been there for the most part and done that. Thankfully, got on the other side of it, and now I'm who it is that I am. But it obviously that took my own individual movement. All that considered, you got people who have never had to experience virtually any kind of struggle, and yet they still come out. So you know them. You went to school with some of them. Mamas, daddies did everything they could for them, and still they come out with their fist in the air at every single protest. You know who I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. Some of y'all know them. Some of y'all went to school with them. You see them on the internet, like fist in the air, holding signs at every single protest. You like, wait a minute, man. You lived in a gated community and your parents loved the living shit out of you, man. What are you doing? You know them. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Why? Well, yeah, it goes. Some of them are actual bums. They don't have anything. I've said it before. We've done entire segments on that. Activism is the let's say profession of the bum. They're attracted to that because it makes them feel like they're valuable, makes them feel like they accomplishing something and becoming greater than just them. I guess they're doing something greater that's outside of their own individual capacity. They want to feel like they're a part of some shit. They ain't got no own for personal accomplishments. Maybe their mamas and their daddies accomplished something, but they ain't accomplished nothing. It all stems from the obsession now with oppression. You can't even turn a damn TV on. You can't watch sports. You can't do nothing without some sort of lecture about, look at these victims and we're trying to uplift and represent and all of this other stuff. And it's like, to me, that's not a way to live. That's not a way to live. Like, be great. Get out there and be great. I have been done wrong many times. First thing I always look at is, what did I do to put myself in that situation? And how do I avoid it going into the future? Even if there is an external source that I could point to, well, that was on you. You did something wrong to me. But how did I put myself in that situation? And it's a very liberating thing when you think like that. You cannot think, even if you are a victim, don't always think through the eyes of one, because often you'll end up making the same mistakes. That doesn't mean, again, that there aren't victims. That is a literal term. It means something. This is the problem here. Because you've rewarded bad behavior, you've given people social clout. People have become superstars, celebrity overnight, just by presenting themselves as a fucking victim. And you've given them and rewarded them with all kinds of stuff. But that's why it's the way that it is. So where you even have rich people that try to present themselves as victims. People that, again, will have more than the average citizen in this country will ever see. And there's nothing wrong with that. But dude, you good on scale. You good. Everybody, like, that's the culture. Like, you see this with sports all the time now, right? It's always got to be like some sort of push and pull. The owners are always bad. Like, when are the owners ever good people? The owners are always bad. And the players making $40 million a year, like, those are they've even wired us to believe that they are somehow the victim in a lot of given scenarios, when it's not often the case. Hell, definitely when you deal with some of their collective bargaining agreements and some of the stuff, they talk themselves into that shit. But seriously, guys, you're not, some of you guys may, I get it. You may have gotten some sort of wrongdoing. I get it. But the tide hopefully will change. The pendulum will hopefully swing back at some point, and it's going to be interesting to see definitely these high list like celebrities. Will they pivot and then become, because if it becomes cool and it becomes a thing to do, to have some sort of self-respect, perseverance, and be proud of that, well, you'll see them start to change and try to act like they're alpha again. But right now we have a bunch of, for lack of better terms, bitches. Bitches that want to always, for first and foremost, present themselves as a victim and present other people, definitely folks that are on the opposite side of them politically, as the actual oppressors. When, you know, I guess we can go to who the actual oppressor is. And a lot of y'all perpetuate that and give power to that, which is why the main people that talk so much about oppression don't seem to want to rid the government of their power. Ain't that something?
You just watched a clip from our podcast, For Canon's Sake. Catch us live at 12 p.m. throughout the week over at youtube.com/YoungRipper59 and follow us over at odyssey.com/@YoungRipper59. If you want to watch the entire video cast after the show is over, just be sure to become a member on the YouTube channel. Of course, the full audio portion of the podcast is available for free on all major digital platforms, or just visit forcanonsake.com.